back at the chess club. Give a week school back in season. We got quite a few of our kids back. It's not quite packed. Probably the next few weeks you see it be packed out. It'll be completely full. Got a coaches meeting over there. A whole bunch of coaches from various schools all over Detroit. Chess is very popular. A method of educating the children, teaching thought patterns. And I thought I'd ramble about kind of these universal patterns of thought recognition related to various things going on. You know, thinking like, okay, like these internet debates. So even if you're not a strong chess player and start playing, you got to do something. You got to have some sort of strategy, even if it's not a very good one. So everyone has some sort of strategy, because the goal is obvious. You need to checkmate the other opponent's king, and you need to organize, develop your pieces in such a way that makes that likely or organized. So in the same way, a person who has a debate strategy where if their strategy is just let me point out some problems in society, even if they don't have a clear vision of solutions or a plan of attack. So like in chess, there's nice clear strategies like control of the center, development of pieces, putting pieces on good squares, and similar for the Battery Conference or these debates. So in the debates, just a basic strategy, point out some inconsistencies in the way we see the world, point out some changes that we'd like to see implemented, some ways that we think society might be better. And you could compare it to, say chess, because you have an opponent against you. And, so maybe the opponent against the person in these debate strategies is either the status quo. So a person might, look at their opponent as the status quo, or people perpetrating the status quo, like PewDiePie and the ADL or something. People want to promote their ideas, get on YouTube, say what they're thinking, point out problems with who they think need problems pointing out with, and then you have an opponent up against you, which could be the status quo, could be the ADL, or if you look in the Democratic presidential debates, people have a vision for how to make society better, and then they have their opponents, if it's President Trump, if it's the various parties that have a different vision. So end of the day, you have generic strategies. So chess is very limited, but it's a good way to teach thinking, because there's very few strategies available. You only have 6 different pieces, and the generic strategies usually like capture the center, get your pieces into good positions, coordinate your pieces, find weaknesses in your opponent's structures, pick on them, attack the king, win material, use your material advantage, trade down pieces, queen a pawn, or whatever. Like just generic strategies that anyone could use to do victory. And the same would apply in these debates, where find a hole in your opponent's philosophy, find inconsistencies, and that could be done through a series of questioning questions and answers, where a person is questioning the person on a whole bunch of questions, and then they're going to point out, that answer that you gave to that point is inconsistent with an answer so that you gave to another point. On the debate, it's much less clear, because like chess, there's a clear path to victory. You checkmate your opponent's king, and that's victory. It's really the only path to victory. There is no other path to victory. As we're in debate, it's less clear what does it mean to win a debate. Does it win a debate if it's like the game of life, social structures of society, politics? Saying you win in politics by having your policy implemented, as opposed to the various policies that your opponents might want implemented. And could be a winner-take-all structure. or just related to understanding something like the battery show. I was thinking this week you got there's a generic structure of the capitalist society we live in, where you have the convention. The convention is put together by a group that's making profit off of it, not necessarily because they just really want to understand how batteries are made, how to have a cleaner environment, how to advance technology and share it from everybody. But basically, in the capitalist structure, everybody basically just wants to benefit themselves. So the owner of the hall is just renting it out and renting out tables, charging fees for parking, selling concessions. The organizer of the event, also is charging people to rent out tables, bringing in speakers. But at the end of the day, the main desire of all the parties is to make a living, make money for themselves. So the people that are selling batteries are a little production line of it. And so when people try to understand the science or the supply chain of these various things, there's usually a goal in mind, and the goal in mind is to sell something and to make profit, as opposed to say my intention is simply to understand how the world works, understand science, understand the direction of technology. You could have multiple conflicting goals. So they say, like in chess, the goal is always obvious. The main goal is to checkmate your opponent's king, although there could be sub-strategies that are your temporary goals. So you have a goal to capture the center, a goal to win material, a goal to have multiple pronged attack on your opponent's pieces, and so to say, the goal of life to get ahead in life. So right now, these kids here in Detroit, the goal is to do good in school, learn proper behavior, good sportsmanship, make friends, and get into college, and get into college so they could get a good career, and build up a family and be good citizens, or so on and so on. So like you could look at even greater goals, like, okay, the goal is to get to heaven, the goal is to serve God, the goal is to have a good reincarnation, so on and so on. That's why chess is very clear cut. The goal is simply to mate your opponent's king, and all the strategies are designed around a simple goal. Although within the goal, you can't always just straight from the beginning mate your opponent's king. Usually you have to focus on temporary goals like control of the center, peace development, and later in the game it could be control of the center, or peace development will no longer be as important. But you can't go straight from the beginning and just mate your opponent's king. So you could give the comparison to these debates. The goal of the debate, so to say, is to have your vision of society implemented and win people over to your point of view, where you say the way you understand that people in society should function is better than currently the way people are functioning in society. And then you would have different methods and strategies for going about it. So just laying out a vision to say, this is what I think, how everybody should act, and how everybody should accord themselves. But first you might have a strategy if you're debating another person. So your strategy might start with pointing out that the other person has an inconsistent world belief. Saying, why should a person even consider your way of life? Because they already have their own way of life. So you have your initial goal of shaking the other person's way of life and demonstrating that how the person thought they should be living their life is not necessarily as solid as they had thought, and therefore they should legitimately consider a different way of life. And so like the battery show or something like that, if your goal is to understand, your goal is to make money, to make a livelihood, therefore you need to understand science, or your goal is to have a more environmentally clean society, and therefore you have to switch from gasoline to electricity or various things. So, so it's interesting to unify it. And, we have so many kids in the program where you're teaching kids at various different levels of understanding where, people could be just learning how to move the pieces, just learning what checkmate is versus a higher level, strategies for openings, piece coordinations, checkmates and various things. So, keep at it. I'm glad to school year's back, so to be able to test out some of my theories. Do a good deed, help kids learn the game of chess. Hopefully, encourage them on a beneficial path in life. Basic thinking skills, take life seriously, good sportsmanship, education seriously, hopefully, college bound in various things. And at the same time, try to unify some of my thoughts and theories, and push more research forward. So I guess that's it. God bless everybody. Shabbat Shalom, and have a great weekend.